Welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here because today we're tackling a seriously high-stakes scenario. It's literally the one thing every aquarium owner totally dreads, but absolutely needs to be prepared for. Picture this. You're walking past your tank, and instead of that reassuring, gentle hum of moving water, there's just silence. The water is totally flat. Boom. You are facing a sudden filtration failure. So, I gotta ask, your aquarium filter just died. What is your very first move? Look, when the flow stops, it is so incredibly easy to just give in to frantic panic, right? But today, we're adopting an ER triage mindset. We're swapping out that panic for calm, calculated action so we can save the ecosystem you've worked so incredibly hard to build. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it reveals our true invisible enemy. We almost always think the biggest problem is the broken piece of hardware itself, but the real danger isn't the busted motor, it's the immediate chemical shift in the water. The exact second that filter stops, your high oxygen levels start tanking, and ammonia levels begin spiking. To combat this, we're going to follow a 5-part ultimate survival and triage guide. First, the critical threat. Second, life support and oxygenation. Third, dilute toxins and run tests. Fourth, safely restarting your filter. And finally, number 5, feeding, monitoring, and prevention. Let's get this patient stabilized.
Part 1. The critical threat. Diagnosing the immediate chemical danger.
When the filter goes dark, you might be super tempted to repeatedly flip the power switch back and forth, especially if you suspect a short. Do not do that. Your absolute biggest risk right now is a rapid rise in harmful waste compounds, specifically ammonia and nitrite. These bad boys build up in the very first minutes and hours of a failure. Identifying and treating this toxic buildup, that is your actual immediate priority. Okay, let's dive into this emergency protocol. We're going to use a core 4-step protocol to save our patient here. Step 1, create circulation. Step 2, change the water. Step 3, test your parameters. And step 4, safely restart the system. Moving right along to part 2, life support and oxygenation. Let's talk about stabilizing the patient right after the failure is discovered. Your absolute, non-negotiable first step is creating strong surface agitation. Think about it. A filter provides both filtration and water movement. So when it dies, the water just stagnates. You've got to get that water moving with whatever emergency circulation tools you have lying around. Check your toolkit. Crank up an air pump, drop in an air stone, or plug in a temporary power head or a backup pump if you're lucky enough to have one. Now, you might be wondering, why do this before even trying to fix the filter? Well, because robust oxygenation isn't the cure, but it is the crucial tactic to absolutely buy you time. Keeping that tank well aerated gives your livestock the oxygen they desperately need to survive while you figure out how to wrestle those toxic ammonia levels back under control. On to part 3, dilute toxins and run tests. This is the next crucial medical phase, treating the symptoms through dilution and running your aquarium labs. So the crucial point is this 20 to 50% rule. While emergency aeration helps your fish breathe, you desperately need an immediate partial water change to physically remove the toxic waste that's building up in there. Depending on your tank size and how long the filter has actually been down, changing out 20 to 50% of the water is forcefully recommended to knock out those toxins. But hey, a massive, massive word of warning here. Always use a dechlorinator or a stress coat designed for aquariums. If you're rushing and you just dump untreated tap water straight into the tank, the chlorine or chloramine in that water will literally wipe out whatever beneficial bacteria you have left. It will make this emergency so much worse. Only use treated water, no exceptions. And while you're doing that water change, it is time to run those aquarium labs. Get your test kits out immediately. You need to be testing for ammonia, nitrite, and ideally nitrates. You need hard, concrete data to gauge exactly how fast conditions are deteriorating inside that glass box. I want you to remember this vital truth. Many mystery fish deaths during filter failure trace back to delayed recognition of ammonia and nitrate spikes. Testing helps you respond with the right intensity. That delayed recognition, that is the real, tragic reason behind those mystery fish deaths. If the spikes are climbing fast, you'll know you need to crank up your water change frequency immediately. Which brings us to part 4, safely restarting your filter. It's time for the resuscitation phase, where we finally identify the mechanical issue and get the biological filtration back online. As you inspect the filter, you absolutely must protect your beneficial bacteria from crashing. Remember, these are the microscopic heroes converting those deadly toxins. Whenever possible, keep your biological filter media wet and oxygenated. If you have to temporarily yank the media out of the filter to do repairs, store it in tank water. Never, ever store it in tap water, and really limit the time it spends out of the tank entirely. And this brilliantly illustrates the most common mechanical culprits we run into. If it's a simple blocked intake or a clog, just clear it out and make sure the impeller spins freely. If it's a power issue, double-check your outlet or breaker, or just switch over to your backup source. For older filters, you're going to want to inspect for mechanical wear or maybe even an air leak. Once you actually find the cause, restart the filtration carefully and verify that the flow is steady. Let's wrap up with part 5, feeding, monitoring, and prevention. The final phase, post-op observation of the fish and future-proofing your setup. Look, even with the filter humming along again, your fish have just been through a major medical event. You need to observe them closely for early warning signs of distress. Keep a sharp eye out for rapid breathing at the surface of the water, clamped fins, general lethargy, or just a sudden loss of appetite. Let's move to C and see how this builds into our feeding strategy. Right now, because of this fragile post-op state, you must feed less, or honestly, pause feeding entirely for the duration of the emergency. Uneaten food and extra waste will only accelerate that toxin buildup we just worked so incredibly hard to dilute. Just wait. Wait until those water parameters are fully stabilized before you even think about resuming normal feeding. Here's a quick look at what your ongoing monitoring timeline should be. In the first 10 minutes, it's all about safety checks and getting that emergency aeration going. Hours 1 through 3, you're executing water changes and running tests. And then, at least every few hours during the crisis, you are rechecking those parameters. Keep monitoring that ammonia and nitrite until you are absolutely certain the chemistry is perfectly stabilized. Because a little preparedness can turn a total crisis into a totally manageable interruption. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. If your system went completely dark today, is your emergency plan ready? Do you have that backup pump, an extra air stone, or fresh test kits on hand right now? Remember, it's the preparation you do today that saves your ecosystem tomorrow. Thanks so much for exploring this with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.